This is former Grand Trunk Western Railroad steam locomotive number 4070. And for the past several years, the all-volunteer crew here at the Midwest Railway Preservation Society has been hard at work to get her back in steam.
So far, the locomotive has been stripped down to her bare boiler, and inspections are ongoing on several key components, including the boiler and firebox metal, brake ringing, tender, and more. And in 2021, we've been making preparations for heavy work.
Let's take a look back at what we've done in 2021 and why it's been such a milestone year for this historic locomotive.
For the 4070 project represented a changing of gears. We finally have documented everything that needs done with the locomotive, and we're starting to make concrete plans of this is what needs fixing, this is how we are going to fix it, and being able to prepare for the next stage of restoration.
A lot of work has been done to develop an actual, what we call a Gantt chart procedure of what has to happen in what order to get this locomotive back into service. So, and a lot of organization of parts that were spread all over the roundhouse, various places have been located, consolidated, labeled.
All these things have to go in a certain progression, a certain order. So if you've got certain things that need to be fabricated, we don't want to start moving on a whole area and then find out that major components that aren't around or need to be fabricated. So it's a big part of the planning organization of it.
When the locomotive was still in service in the 1950s, it took a, we'll say, unfortunate dive into a turntable pit. A couple hundred tons of locomotive landing on the front end of the frame doesn't really do good things to it. So that obviously at the time cracked and bent the frame.
The frame has never been the same since. It's been repaired more than once, and over the years of use and deferred maintenance, for lack of a better term, the original fix has migrated. So in order to have the engine at this stage of overhaul, it makes more sense for us to go down to bare metal on the frame, fix the crack in the frame correctly, so everything, the rods, side rods, main rods, piston rods, the bearings, and all the rest of that are in true alignment.
The crack in the frame is basically between the cylinders and the first driving wheel, which is basically where a lot of the force from the cylinders reactionary is occurring. So it's a very important part that needs to be in one piece, otherwise the locomotive could tear itself apart.
There is no grandfather clause when it comes to locomotive safety. Everything has to be up to today's standards. Anytime you're on the rail, anytime you're pulling people, a lot of things could go wrong if the boiler is not supported by a good frame, or if the frame starts shimmying, stuff like that. All of a sudden you can have some derailments, things like that. So you really have to have a good frame foundation. In preparation for working on 4070, one of the things we looked at is the drop pit and stall 4. So this is actually not only a unique design, but a very rare design to see. I don't think many people have witnessed anything like this.
We did a lot of cleaning. I was involved in some of that, like just simply power washing the concrete pit because it had been in need of it for, a couple decades probably.
With having the drop pit available, it's going to make it a lot easier for any locomotive that comes in here that we need to drop a wheel set out for any kind of maintenance. Rather than having to jack the engine up, we were able to just drop it down, drop the wheel out, whether it's a diesel or a steamer or whatever.
When 4070 was put into storage, there were some disputes about the future of the locomotive, so there wasn't somebody taking a full ownership on it, and it wasn't really cleaned and put away as it needed to be.
Well, the tender was a mess. The inside was completely rotted. Unfortunately, when it was put away, it still had coal in the bunker, coal in the stoker feeder, and over the many years that has a very toxic effect on metal. So a lot of the bottom part of the tender was rusted out. A lot of the water part of the cistern was rotted out.
Upon further inspection, the plan was made to basically replace the tender body, basically build a new tender body, put it back onto the original frame. I was involved in a bit of taking measurements and drawing up some preliminary plans for that replacement tender body.
Big part of this was getting somebody to do the engineering drawings and the specs on this. So we were able to find somebody who was able to help us with that. So now that we're moving forward with those engineering drawings, we're going to be able to fabricate something that looked exactly like the previous one.
So another part of 4070 that we've been working on this year has been the locomotive's cab. The cab was sitting outside, not attached to the locomotive for a number of years.
The cab has totally been basically rehabbed. It's ready to have the interior wood structure replaced. It needs to be sandblasted and painted at this point, but the reconstruction of the cab metalwork is essentially done, and that was a major accomplishment of 2021.
So other organizations have been involved with 4070's restoration, helping Midwest. Among them, American Steam Railroad with Reading 2100. They obviously do work on 2100 here at Midwest West 3rd Street Roundhouse in Cleveland.
ASR has been a tremendous help with both materials, expertise. We collaborate a lot on every part of it, pretty much, because they're doing essentially the same reconstruction work that we're going to have to go through.
It's got good funding, a large group of people doing it, and these people have a lot of knowledge, so that's also helpful as we move forward with 4070, because our neighbors right here are able to give us a good amount of information about the restoration and things that we would need to do and be concerned about as we move forward on 4070.
Other organizations have been equally active in giving us information and expertise and parts and drawings and all kinds of stuff that it takes to put one of these beasts back together.
Lincoln Electric has also been a longtime supporter of Midwest, and they will be assisting us with the flue sheets, I know, for 4070.
We've got a lot of momentum on this. Just the fact that it's finally inside, it's got a home, it's got a clean pit, it's got all the pieces and parts that we need to start working on this. Just getting it clean, getting it documented what we've got.
I think 2022 is going to be a very productive year for us. We want to tram the whole drivetrain so that it's totally aligned properly and should not wear parts out prematurely. Basically, we're going to spend this much time and money on it. It makes a lot of sense just to do it complete as possible. Basically, make it a brand new engine.
One of the most important things about restoring steam locomotives at this point in time is that it's a generation gap. We've lost a lot of these people that used to work on these things, and we want to be able to make sure that people have a good idea of how important transportation was at that time. There's not many of these situations around. Some of these locomotives have been sitting out and they're too far gone for restoration. So it's a real challenge to be able to get pieces like this that have a good chance of being restored and teach people. It's actually part of our whole purpose.
Any other community in the country that's got a steam engine that operates is a tourist draw. It brings people into the area. They spend money in the local establishments. They support us, hopefully. And yeah, it's a magnet. A lot of people come to see these things. Most people in this generation don't ever get a chance to see a live steam locomotive work, and it is quite a sight.
For anybody who's thinking about donating to 4070, every little bit helps us move along the project. And as far as volunteering, stop on by and see what you can do. My day job is as a math tutor. I don't do anything remotely mechanical or industrial anywhere nearly on a daily basis, but I'm still able to be of an assistance and learn something. So no matter what you do, you can certainly be of assistance either monetarily or through volunteering.
I've been a lifetime Clevelander. I didn't even know this roundhouse was, here in the Flats. My train experience was Lionel until 7 years ago, where I became a member. I came back for engineer for an hour. That was my first time here, and now I'm a certified brakeman and on the board of trustees, and so it's a wonderful place to learn a lot of things and to get to know a lot of people who have very different skill sets than where you come from.
Come join the party. If you want to get dirty, learn a lot about some really old mechanical pieces of equipment, or just enjoy the sight, the sound, the smell of an operating steam locomotive, come join us.
And that's what we have been able to accomplish in 2021. As always, we would like to give a big thanks to our donors, our volunteers, and the professional contractors for making all this possible.
Indeed, 2021 was a major year in the restoration, and 2022 is looking to be just as exciting as we embark on the first major repairs the engine has seen in many years.
But remember, this can only happen with your help. To make a donation or become a volunteer, visit us online at midwestrailway.org. Your contributions are greatly appreciated as we work to bring this icon of steam back to the rails. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.